The European Union of Human Rights recently issued a ruling on a highly anticipated case involving assisted suicide. The High Court says Belgium violated the right to life of a 64-year-old woman who was euthanized back in 2012. She died after saying she suffered from untreatable depression. The landmark case was brought by her son, who says family members were not consulted by a doctor prior to her death. The Catholic Church is strongly against assisted suicide. In 2020, the Vatican called it, quote, intrinsically evil. We go now to AC Vimmer, editor-in-chief of CNA Deutsch, who has been following this story. AC, great to see you. Can you tell us more about what the court said in its ruling? And also, was this ruling a surprise?
Well, Tracy, it kind of was a surprise in as much as the court found that there was a violation of Article 2 of the European Convention on Human Rights, namely that the right to life shall be protected by law. But at the same time, the court found that there was not really a violation of the legislative framework that Belgium has in place when it comes to practicing euthanasia. And that might not just at first sight seem a bit contradictory. When you consider what was happened, that someone died after having approached a euthanasia advocate, and then her son finding out by getting a bill from the hospital, he says, you also see that nasty surprises were part of the story all along.
And AC, for those who aren't familiar, can you tell us a little bit more about the assisted suicide laws in Belgium? And also, will this ruling make it harder for those who are seeking an assisted suicide?
It certainly will put in place a better framework, one would like to think, or at least an improvement of what's in place, Tracy. But what is in place when it comes is more about ensuring that euthanasia can take place within a certain time frame. And that includes in Belgium and the Netherlands, both countries that are at the forefront of these developments, minors and people who are suffering not from a terminal illness, but simply from, as it was in this case, deep depression and allegedly incurable depression, but for a person that otherwise was physically healthy and well.
AC, what was the reaction to this ruling from the woman's family and from pro-lifers?
So there's a fair bit of relief for Tom Mortier himself. I've met him a few years ago when this case was unraveling, and I saw a man who was deeply struck by not being able to say goodbye to his own mother, by being uninformed by the doctors performing this process when it took place, and only afterwards finding out. So there is perhaps a legitimate hope that there is a bit of closure now and a bit of hope that things might improve in Belgium. But on the whole, this has been a harrowing process for the family and for many pro-lifers. And the fight is not over. I think that's the overall sense that people are getting. It's only just a small milestone, a step forward perhaps on the right way.
AC, I want to switch gears here. Something else I want to talk to you about. Late last week, an executive at an Australian rules football team in Melbourne was forced to resign after it emerged that he was Christian and pro-life. He also said that homosexual acts were sinful. What more do you know about this?
So this is a major case for Australia, but also one that has ripples, I believe, across the sports world. In as much as this was a senior executive for one of the most important teams, the Essendon Bombers. Anyone familiar with AFL would know they're a huge team in Australia. But also with a man who was himself a senior executive of the National Australia Bank, someone who knows how to lead and has significant experience in the business community as well. So what transpired is that on Monday he was appointed as an executive of the Essendon Bombers club, and then within 24 hours had to resign simply because there was a public and perhaps orchestrated, some might say, backlash to what his church, the Church on a Hill, is called, a community affiliated with the Anglican Diocese here in Melbourne, was affiliated with them, and there was a sermon published in 2013 that described homosexual acts as sinful, and there have been pro-life messages, anti-abortion messages coming from that community. He had to step back. He had to resign under protest. The Catholic archbishops of both Melbourne and Sydney have come out warning that this has a chilling effect for people, for Christians, those supporting the teams, those making donations to the teams, but also those in public roles. And Tracy, it's not the first time that football codes in Australia have been embroiled in these sorts of tensions when it comes to questions of LGBT support and similar issues.
AC, unfortunately, we have to leave it right there. Always so much more we can talk about. Great to have you on as always. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tracy. God bless.